Now that the basic table is created, well, first of all, I do have to save this file. I haven't saved it yet. We click on File and Save. Make sure that I am inside week 10. And I'm going to call this, I don't know if I should call it the index file or something else, but just to be safe, yeah, I'll call it index. And I'll save and wait for it to appear. There it is, the index file inside week 10. After all of this typing that I did, actually I'm going to delete all of this. You see how whenever I'm hovering on top of a column, that highlights it, highlights the whole column. That means that you can actually select it and do stuff with it. If I were to delete, just pressing the delete key, then that column is gone. If I wanted to join some of these, I'll press Ctrl Z just to get it back. If I wanted to join some of these, also I could click and drag all the way across, and that has two of these selected. And in my properties, I have some special icons. This one is going to merge the selected cells. I could type in some spaces and stuff in there, or I could just, once again, just select this cell. I'm going to do so by just highlighting the text and telling it to split it again. It does not know exactly where to split it, but it will create two of them. It'll create two new columns. So then I could just cut this information and paste it on the other one. You could also do the same thing with cells along a column. You could highlight them all and tell them for whatever reason to just join them all. So I have now merged all that information. I'll press Ctrl Z to get rid of it. And really you could just get all this data highlighted and tell it to merge and then get this useless blob of text. So now that I've gotten it so messed up, one thing that I can do is make sure that the table is selected. I click on top, the green bar is highlighted. I could also right click on the actual table itself and say table, select table, make sure it's selected, and it is, and I'll press delete, and now the whole thing is gone. I'm going to scroll down to just where I wanted the table to be. My properties are back to HTML because I don't have a cable there anymore. And the code shows me that I just have a blank page basically. So all that cool data that I got before, and let me show it to you in its raw form, by which I mean this is the text file that I'll be working with. It's got all the information that I need. This came from the Excel sheet that we saw earlier. A text file was created where all of the cells were exported into text, and they're separated by commas. You'll see comma here after each of the column headings, and then after the show, the episode number, after the descriptions, after the networks. Well, actually not necessarily after the networks, because that's the end of the line. The return line then says this is a new row, and that's where it starts. Let me move this out of the way, and I'll show you the way that we actually got that comma separated values table. I'll go back into Excel, make sure that I am able to edit. I've enabled the editing. I can say File and Export, and then change the file type and do a formatted text. This is going to be separated by spaces, or actually I want to do the CSV, a comma delimited text format separated by commas. I'll click here to tell it that's what I want to export as. And then it'll give me an opportunity to go and save it back on week 10. I've already created that file. I already have it, but I'll just call this one TV listing 2 CSV and save it. So all my hard work in the Excel is going to be saved as comma separated values. Make sure that you have a copy. That little warning that I just got said that it's going to change format. So if you want to keep it this way, make sure that you save the Excel file the way that you had it before. I'll close Excel now. I'm not going to save any additional changes. I already saved them, and let me show you really quick what was saved. This is now that TV listing 2.csv. Basically, it's the same file as the txt that I had before. So there's a little bit of an extra space here, but that's okay. We can ignore that for now. I'm going to close both of these. We don't need to have them open in a text editor. We're going to bring them straight into Dreamweaver. Going to select first of all the space where I want the table to be. It's the same place where I was before. That's where I had clicked the table. Now, since we're importing a table that already exists in another format, I can simply go to File, tell it to import tabular data. I could also try to get the Excel document, but I prefer tabular data. It's a more old school. I'll browse that, and I have a choice of all of the files that we have already been working with. I'm going to stick with the original TV listing. This is a text file. I could also use TV listing 2, which is a CSV file. But I'm going to do TV listing. I'll click open. And the delimiter, that's going to be, well, what separates these columns? They're comma separated. So I'll select comma. If you had anything else, semicolons, colons, etc., if you had dashes, you would put in that character in that little box there. I'll keep comma. I'm going to change the table width. I could either do fit to data, which would take up the whole screen, or I could set it to 80% as I was working with it before, and that will give me a similar table that the one that we were using prior. Cell padding, I'm just going to save some time and just say 5 and 5 again. Border, for now, I'll still leave it blank. I'll click OK, and all the data comes in straight in from the other file. I'll make sure that it's selected, and I know it's selected because it tells me in my properties that I have a table selected. I'm going to change the alignment to center. And if this were part of a page, I might keep it at 80%, but if I already know what the dimensions are that I need, let's say that I had a 720 pixel space, I could just change that easily in the width property. I'm going to change that to 700. And of course that expands it to 700%, which is 7 times as large as I needed. I'll click on pixels, and then I have a table that's 700 pixels wide. Something that I can then begin to do is you'll have to, if you do a table and you give it a specific width, you're going to have to do a little bit of math to figure out how wide each one of your columns may need to be. And since I'm working with the 700, in the end, hopefully all of these columns, if I change the width, they will not be more than 700. I'll click on the first column, and it's selected now. You'll see that the properties have changed to show me that I have one column selected. I could change a lot of things about this, and you can do all of that in the properties. I'm going to give this a specific width, and that width is going to be 200 pixels wide. So in my pixels, or rather in my width, I'll type in 200. Press enter to accept, and you'll see that it reduces, and Dreamweaver is now telling me your table is 700 pixels wide and this column is 200 pixels wide. I'm going to select episode, clicking on top, then I can change this to 50 pixels. I'm going to skip the episode name for now. I'm going to click on airs at and give it also a 50. Seems to be a good number. And the network, I do believe that 50 will also be enough for that. Now the column that I skipped doesn't have any specifics, but what that means basically is that Dreamweaver is going to figure it out, how much space it actually needs to put in there. It's just going to do the math for us. But as long as we don't go beyond 700, then we'll be fine. One of the things though is, let's say that you do have a really long title, Lest I Sleep the Sleep of Death, and miss my morning class. You'll notice then that the title will go on to the second line. So it'll still fit in there. I'm going to delete that superfluous information. One thing that you may have noticed when we brought it in, unlike the first time where we had the opportunity to set up a header for the table, then we don't have that option just yet. We haven't decided, that we want a header. If we do want a header, I'll hover to the very left of the top row, click on that and select it, and in my properties just tell it this is a header cell. I click it and it centers and it bolds and it gives us all the information really quick. So if I wanted to make some additional changes, and we can do a lot of things with this using CSS, I'm going to do a couple of really quick hits here. I'm going to click on the first row, and I'll click on this background, and I'll select the color, and now it's going to be a light color. I'm not going to do too much CSS work with this table. I'll click on that. That's a new color that was created, and it's blue, and it goes all the way across. This is the hexadecimal value, so I'm going to select that and I'm going to copy it. And then I'll go to the second row after that and paste that color that I just copied, and then do the same for alternative one, and then we can get a zebra table going. I'll do one more here, and one on fresh off the boat, paste that, and then NCIS New Orleans to the last one. Now what's all this looking like in our page? TV listings, I'm going to highlight that and change that to a heading. Here's my heading right there, heading 1. And I'm going to check this out on a browser. So I'll click on this and on the little globe and say to preview in Google Chrome. I'll save any changes that I have. I don't have any CSS attached to it. But here is my code as it's going. This is my table. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might be a little bit too long, but like I said, it'll just go on to the second page. So far we're getting a good listing going here with our tables. After the midterm project is turned in, I may be going a little bit back and going and showing you more stuff about tables. Just know that they're really easy to make, and they're going to be really easy to format using CSS. And if you have any questions, please contact me in the with the email address, and hopefully maybe I'll see you in a virtual lab or in the real lab at B267 in the B building at El Centro College.